you've had such an incredible, very multifaceted journey from growing up with entrepreneurial parents to becoming a founder, wellness leader. You've had so many different iterations of your career, of your life. When you think back to your childhood self, what messages do you think you absorbed early on about what success looked like, what you were supposed to be, or what was possible for you in life?
That's such a great question. I think, I feel really lucky to grow up with parents who, yes, were entrepreneurial and came into the business world, but also very much cared that they were moving through life with purpose. And I think for me, first of all, graduating college in the middle of like the economic downfall in 2008, I came out of school right after that. And mixed with some of the thoughts and ideas around living life with purpose and the world kind of being your oyster with this on the verge of all these new technologies that were coming out, mixed with the economic uncertainty. All of those things together kind of led me down this alternative path of what started out as DJing that ended up unveiling all of these other possibilities, starting my business. And then that ended up ending in turmoil. And then when the dust settled, I started creating content on this new platform called Instagram, right? And we weren't even aware of what that could turn into. And fast forward, a decade later, I've helped create a category and define what the content economy or creator economy looks like. So I think for me, it's been important to follow my gut and like live with purpose. And I've been able to create business opportunities on the back end of that. I feel like my parents just very much instilled this idea of working hard, working with purpose, and being extremely kind and thoughtful along the way.
It is really interesting to me where successful people come from and like when the seed was planted that helped them get to where they are now. So it makes a lot of sense for you to have the journey you've had. I know that you mentioned your business ending in turmoil. For our audience who isn't familiar, can you share the early days of your career? What was that like? How you kind of got into your career life?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll set the stage a little bit. I mean, it's 2011. I had just gotten out of school and I was DJing nightclubs about 4 or 5 times a week. I really started to make the transition to corporate DJing. I just found that the lifestyle was starting to get the best of me. I was starting to feel really burnt out. I wanted to still DJ and use the skill set that I had that I was having so much fun with, but I wanted to apply it to a different vertical that A, gave me better hours and B, allowed me to have a better salary and income, right? I was getting paid much more to do corporate work than I was getting paid in a nightclub. And it also allowed me to take agency over my health. I was up all night, sleeping all day. I'd really fallen away from the healthy lifestyle that I had grown up in and valued very much. I had completely moved away from that. So I knew that the transition into a corporate life or corporate DJing was going to allow me to have my lifestyle back. And being a New York City girl, I knew I needed to show up in these spaces looking a little bit different than I was used to looking in the nightclub. I knew I wanted to get a blowout or have my nails done. And I didn't want to have to call around to find the last minute appointment to the salons that I knew I wanted to go to. I wanted to create an on demand app that allowed you to book last minute beauty appointments through a curated list of salon and spas. It was the time everything was moving to mobile apps, on demand life was happening at our fingertips, and I wanted to revolutionize the beauty industry. I met my co founders. We created a product. We were live in 3 cities. We had built this proprietary software that we signed up hundreds of salon and spas onto. And we had raised venture capital money. And then about 15 months later, my female co founder and I experienced a fallout with our male co founder. And it was one of the most tumultuous experiences of my career. I'm happy to say it was the only divorce I've ever been through, but it was expensive and emotionally draining. And I had to unwind the business while leaning into my investors at the time, which was a really humbling experience.
Can imagine,
And
yeah.
what doesn't kill you makes you stronger and smarter.
What did you learn from that experience that you've applied to your general, like, business success in the future?
Well, I think I was really naive and so eager to build that I didn't do proper diligence on team members. I didn't advocate for myself on my equity that I should have advocated for myself day one. I learned how to delegate properly and understand what my strengths were and where I felt my team members could complement those strengths. I learned how to navigate a toxic work environment. A lot of business is rooted in understanding how to play to egos. It's interesting because being a DJ in a corporate environment, I mean, sometimes you walk into a party and you don't even know there's a DJ in the corner. So I was very used to showing up, doing a great job. Maybe sometimes people would know that it was me in the corner, and maybe some people didn't know. For me, there was really no ego. I wanted my clients to say, hey, we had an amazing time working with Hannah. We'd love to hire her again. That was my goal. So bringing some of that to my startup life was good and bad, because sometimes it is important to be the one who is standing up for yourself and not just standing in a corner in the room. I think I didn't understand at that time how much leverage I actually had and how I could have used that to my advantage instead of getting pushed over and stomped on. There are a lot of lessons there. I'm actually so grateful to have had that experience early in my career. It certainly has shaped the rest of my career as I know it. Without that experience, I don't know if I would be in the scenario that I'm in now.
I think that's the really interesting thing about negative experiences, toxic experiences, whether in work and relationships. Everybody has had these experiences, and in the future, they look back like, thank God that happened, or else I wouldn't have learned these lessons. I wouldn't have been where I am today, especially in the arc of your career, to look at how such a negative experience at the time was so influential in shaping the career that you turned into.
Totally.
The other thing about you that I love so much is that you are such a hustler. I am, like, so amazed at how many things you've started, launched, turned successful. You're a hustler. So I'm curious, like, in those earlier days of your career, what were some of those bold or, like, behind the scenes move that you think helped you build momentum in your career?
It's funny. I feel like I just saw someone on a podcast who's like much younger than I am talking about the idea of creating an assistant, a virtual fake assistant. All the comments are like, oh my God, this is genius. And I'm like, I did that in 2010. But as a DJ who was getting paid like peanuts to DJ these nightclubs, I didn't know how to advocate for myself if I was going to be the person that was showing up, dealing with the managers of the clubs and things like that. So I actually created a fake assistant for myself in the early days who would negotiate my salaries on my behalf. And that way I could really show up to the club and have someone else to blame. It wasn't my behavior. I wasn't being difficult, but rather, I had a manager. That was a really awesome tool, especially coming out of this business endeavor. It was like a great thing to have and a way that I felt empowered. So that was probably one of the first things that I did that allowed me some leverage. And then I've had a manager who I've been working with for 13 years now. Besides me being a hustler, I'm extremely loyal. When I think about the way I show up and my reputation, I'm very much the type of person who says what I like. I do what I say I'm going to do. And I also live by like the idea of under promising and over delivering. I think that that's what allows me to have more doors open for me. My reputation is everything to me, and so I always act with that as my North Star.
That's a really important thing to guide you and remain. I think especially as you get more and more successful, loyalty for most people become less and less of a priority. And again, like you said earlier, ego is so attached to success a lot of times. And so it's easy to get in this place where we are over offering and under delivering. And
Yeah.
so I think to have that as your North Star makes sense of like the secret sauce that has made you be so successful today.
100%. And I'm always very upfront. I've spoken to so many different astrologers over the years, and every single time the same thing resonates, which is that I'm a truth seeker. That is just a part of my DNA. And so I don't have time for the fluff of it all. If I think it's going to work, I'll tell you if it's going to work, and if it's not going to work, you're going to know that it's not going to work immediately as well. And I think also in business, like, the second best answer is a fast no. The best
Mm,
answer is a yes, obviously, but the second best answer is a no, and a quick one. It's not, I don't like to waste people's time or drag on conversations. It's, of course, one thing to explore options, but exploring with purpose, I think, is also something that I try and do. And I always like trust my gut as well. If there's a fee associated with something that just feels off, it's not worth the money, right?
mm.
Because authenticity matters most. Trust is so easily broken. And when you have a brand that you've built over 15 years with a community, that trust is not taken for granted. It's fragile. It has to be nurtured, and it can easily be broken with the wrong partnership or a potential misstep. That sounds like there's a lot of weight, which I don't feel that weight in my day-to-day life, living my life online. I feel very comfortable with my community and the things I talk about and my stance on things. I very rarely feel like I've ever said anything I regret, which is a really obviously great place to be. And I can't say the same for so many other people, but that's how at least I show up and approach my life on the internet.
Yeah, leading with integrity is such a
Mhm.
pillar. You've been on so many interesting sides of business. You've been a founder, investor, you've been your own brand. So I feel like you are the most interesting person to ask what you've learned about money and building wealth from being on all these different sides of things.
You know, there's wealth to be built in so many different aspects of business, and it's really understanding what your own talents are. Of course, you have examples like, okay, we could even talk about Poppy, right? You have an amazing founder who took 10 years to build this business, right? I think a lot of people underestimate how long it takes to grow a business to an exit if you aren't the likes of Haley Bieber, whose extraordinary exit to Elf is definitely one to be studied. The marketing
Right.
has been unmatched for Rode, and Haley's celebrity conversion is also one that doesn't transfer over to every celebrity. We have seen many celebrity brands crash and burn. What Haley has is to be studied 1000%. But then you've got founders who are starting from scratch. They don't have a platform. They're building a company that's based on purpose. And with Poppy, they went through a rebrand in their early days, and then they found success in their new brand. They hit the market. Timing was right, but the message was right. We better for you products are everywhere. Those investors did very well. And then you have folks on the internet who are making their wealth on TikTok Shop, who have a much smaller audience, don't care about building a product, but they're using their conversion for affiliate. And that affiliate is driving wealth for them. We've got all sides of the field where I think that there's opportunity. Opportunity is everywhere. And it's just understanding what your skill set is and where you are going to be able to drive conversion and or scalability. There are people who just cut themselves into deals, who are just making wealth off of they're monetizing their network, right? They're lining up connections and they're just taking a piece of that, and that's how people are building wealth. There are people who just study the stock market and invest in the S&P 500, and that's how they're building their wealth. I think wealth can be built in so many different ways right now. We're seeing so many different side hustles. I think people need to get creative because there's business opportunities everywhere, and it's just understanding where you want to spend time, what your skill set is, and where you think you can make the conversion.
I love that answer, especially because it feels so much more like looking at the abundance of opportunities that we have, that there are so many options. There's so many opportunities. I mean, we have more options than any generation ever before to build wealth,
Absolutely.
no matter what you're starting with.
I'm seeing people on the internet who are rolling up laundromats and creating, finally bringing laundromats into 2025. Genius. My
Yes.
grandfather, my mother's father owned laundromats, was a middle class guy from Chicago, owned multiple laundromats. And to see people now bringing branding and coffee shops into the laundromat world, it's amazing. It's actually a
So
very
cool.
steady way of creating wealth and rolling up old businesses. I think a lot of people who used to own these types of businesses, whether it's HVAC or laundromats or whatever, they're looking for a buyout. They're done operating these businesses, and these businesses need to be invigorated. They need investment. They need new technology. So I think it's like, again, there's opportunity everywhere, but you got to make sure that that the P&Ls make sense and that you're ready to like dive in on the hustle.
You know those products that just make you feel like that girl? For me, it's Osea's Undaria Algae Body Oil. This is the glow up essential that lives on my bathroom counter year round, but especially in the summer. It's their number one bestseller for a reason. It's rich but never greasy, it sinks in fast, and makes my skin feel so silky. Plus, it actually helps make your skin look more toned. Like, I just got a lymphatic drainage massage, but I did it myself in 30 seconds, kind of sculpted. The first time I used it, someone literally stopped me and said, "You smell amazing. What perfume is that?" And I was like, "It's not perfume, it's my body oil." True story. And the best part with Osea, you don't need to choose between your values and your best skin. Osea is clean, vegan, and cruelty free. Get healthy, glowing skin for summer with clean, vegan skincare and body care from Osea. Get 10% off your first order site-wide with code TheEveryGirl at OseaMalibu.com. You'll get free samples with every order and free shipping on orders over $50. Head to OSEAMalibu.com and use code TheEveryGirl for 10% off. I want to get into your wellness tips because our listeners love wellness and I love all of your wellness advice. I literally got your book the year it came out for Christmas from my
Oh
mom
my
because that's how
gosh.
much I love your wellness content. So I have to get
Thank
into
you.
all of your amazing health advice. What are some of those unexpected rituals or practices that you think make the biggest difference for your energy, your health, and how you feel?
Prioritizing sleep has been my number one thing, not just the amount of hours, but really the quality. And so I'm drinking the sleep tinctures, I'm taking the sleep supplements to really optimize and restore my sleep. I actually don't wear any sort of wearable anymore because they were creating sleep anxiety for me. It's like I have two young kids. I know I don't sleep amazingly, and I don't want to be told every morning that I had horrible night's sleep. Like, that's not telling me mentally that I'm going to have a successful day. It's actually telling me the opposite, and I don't need to spiral, right, from
Yeah.
this dad.
No,
So
thank you. We don't need that negativity. No.
we don't need it. So instead, I'm optimizing my magnesium and my tart cherry and having supplements with GABA, which I know like really for me is like That's how I feel like I am getting the best quality sleep. So sleep for me is like number one. And I'm really, really trying to get off my phone earlier, potentially put my phone in a different room, but really trying to get off my phone and even like brain dump a little bit on a notepad before going to bed.
Does that
So
help
just
kind
like,
of like erase the worry, anxiety?
yes, exactly. Like I always end up falling asleep to my to-do list. I'm like, I don't want to think about my to-do list as I'm like trying to like snuggle. That's not
Totally.
what I want to think. So if I can brain dump some of that out, it's actually kind of nice because then I feel like I have like a little bit of a priority list the next morning. So I will say sleep, prioritizing sleep is great. The other thing I am trying to do right now is prioritize protein intake and eating like nutrient rich foods. So I am a girl on the go. I'm also someone who definitely feels the effect in my mood based off of things that I eat. I can be hangry. I can be irritable when I don't feel like I've eaten enough protein in my day. And so having snacks or portable foods that I know support me, like Too Good and Co., which is an amazing protein packed yogurt, is absolutely like one of my go-to things I have in my fridge. Pop it in my bag, and like whether I have gone for a workout or I'm in between meetings or I'm like eating like while walking, it just ends up being one of these things where I know I'm getting an extra 14 grams of protein in my diet, which will make me feel really great and strong and mentally like have this like mental clarity that I'm looking for. And then it's like hydration. I think for me, I am so bad at drinking water. So bad. I
It can be so
literally
hard.
it is so hard, and I don't know why it's so difficult. Maybe it's also like a mental thing that I just like trick myself that I'm like, I know I put this big emphasis on it, so then I like don't do it, or I don't know, but I'm trying to really cut the self-sabotaging. I'm like, we're just gonna hydrate, it's gonna be okay. And I try to like bring electrolytes or have electrolytes in my bag because that always makes water taste good, but then also it brings that hydration level up even more. And so those are the things I'm prioritizing: nutrition, protein, hydration, and sleep. Those are like really the things I'm trying to do. And then, like, if I get to have a bath every once in a while, that's amazing. If I get to have 5 extra minutes in the shower to give myself a head massage, fab, amazing. And then I do prioritize my nighttime skincare routine. Those are my moments where I get to like massage my jaw. Touch is one of my things. That's like my love language. So it's like a massage, massaging my face, giving myself like a foot rub in the bath or a head rub in the shower. Those are the moments that I think for me just like kind of bring me back into my body, help me deal with it's like a stress management thing. Besides like getting hugs from my kids, always a lovely hit of dopamine are
Yeah.
the kids.
I love that you have priorities and non-negotiables, but it's not like I think it obviously can get so overwhelming for anybody to, I have to have the perfect fitness routine, the perfect food, the perfect morning routine, nighttime routine, all the things. It gets so overwhelming. So to have those like three goals for you and then know in the evening, this is my little moment of me time that makes me feel good is
Yeah.
so helpful.
Yeah, I don't have a morning routine. It's impossible. I have 2 small kids. I mean, there is no morning routine. It's like every morning feeding the kids, making sure you're fed, getting out the door. I mean, the me time is so limited. So optimizing where I can. Kids go to bed. Okay, I've got 2 hours before I need to go to bed. What am I doing in those 2 hours to optimize for myself if I'm not, having an event or being out in the evening or something like that. And even still, washing my face off at night is something I do every single night. So how can I optimize that? Having a matcha, I'm like, sometimes I don't even get to have any caffeine. Sometimes I'm like, that caffeine's not happening until like midday. I would love to work out 3 times a week. Let's see if it happens. The lucky thing about living in New York City, I get to walk everywhere, right? So I kind of incorporate walking as part of my overall fitness. And I do strive to work out 3 times a week, but there are weeks where that doesn't happen. And I really try to not guilt myself around it. And I do obviously feel better when I am prioritizing that for myself. But things are hectic right now and I'm managing a lot. And so I'm trying to just be realistic instead of like saying I didn't hit my goal, like, okay,
Yeah.
let's change the goals a little bit then for right now.
Because that's only gonna make you more stressed out, and if it
Really.
makes you stressed out, you've lost the plot, like, that's not wellness
Exactly.
anymore.
Exactly.
And I love the tip to add things on to what's already going on, like, if you know you're gonna brush your teeth, you know you're gonna do skincare, that's the moment for you, maybe that's the only time all day that you're gonna add 2 more minutes to it to make it like a relaxing face massage, maybe you light a candle during it, like, that you're
Totally.
building off of the routines that you know are gonna be there either way to make them feel a little bit better for you, so then that's the restoration, the self-care.
Exactly.
Such
Literally.
a good tip. It's such a good way to see it, especially when you're so busy with kids, your job, like, there's so much going on, so it's so smart to instead of feeling like we have to add things to our routine, we get to
Optimize the
incorporate,
things that are
optimize.
already, yeah.
If someone is stuck in a rut with their health or they're lost motivation, they're not feeling very good, what's one shift you think can have the biggest impact?
I would not underestimate the power of vitamin D. I was going through, I felt like a really sluggish time. And I realized, first of all, I got my blood work done. And I really think that every person should be working off their blood work and supplementing what they need to supplement based off of that. I understand that that can be hard to do or a little inaccessible. There are companies out there who are trying to make this more accessible, like Hone Health, Hone. And I will say, when I started taking vitamin D regularly every single day, I noticed a huge shift in my energy, the way I was waking up in the morning. When you are feeling sluggish, when you are feeling brain fog, when you're feeling unmotivated, it can be really hard to do anything that feels positive. It can feel like you're just combating with yourself. And so, honestly, taking a small step like just adding vitamin D into my diet or adding protein into my diet or prioritizing sleep, like taking those one small things have allowed me to break through that sluggish brain fog moment. And I also think like some of this stuff happens through relationships. Sometimes it's toxic relationships that can make you feel like you are unmotivated or negative self thought patterns, right? There's different like EMDR tap therapy or ways to rewire your nervous system. Cutting out toxic friends or relationships can be a really powerful tool. All of these like small, and they're not small. Cutting out a toxic person in your life is not a small thing. That is a really hard thing to do, but one of the most powerful things you can do for yourself. And I think like ultimately just getting outside more, listening to podcasts, trying to meditate. I'm not good at meditating and like sitting down and meditating, but I do really love going for a walk and listening to something, whether that's a meditation or just like a podcast where I'm learning about something new. Those feel like moments of personal growth. And I think having those moments of personal growth is really important. I get fueled and feel invigorated by learning new things. And so if I don't make time to do that, I start to feel stifled. So in order for me to keep moving forward, I need to create moments of self like growth. And whether that's like me on the subway going from a meeting to another meeting or actually saying, "Hey, I'm not going to make lunch at home. I'm going to go out for a walk and maybe walk to this cafe over there and then walk back." Like just having like little moments, which my lifestyle allows for me to do. And if you're in a corporate setting, it's a different situation, but most likely you do have a commute and you can optimize your commute and not just like doom scroll on the internet. And writing has been a really great outlet for me as well. So I write my Substack twice a week, and that's been something that I've been having a lot of fun with. which is awesome because when things feel fun, they're actually like, I feel like you pour so much joy into them, unlike something that you just another thing on your to-do list.
100%. It's such a great answer because I think a lot of people would answer that with like things to do to improve your energy, but so much of what you said was, why is your energy lacking in the first place? You know, is it a
Yeah.
toxic relationship? Is it you're not moving enough? Is it low vitamin D? So I love that angle of looking at it like not only just how do we improve our motivation and energy, but why are we lacking in the first place? We are going to wrap up with some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
First one for you, Hannah. What's one belief you held in your 20s about health that you have completely let go of now?
Oh my God, there's so many. One, okay, I guess the idea that there should be one way that you take in your nutrition, i.e., one specific diet that you should be doing, like whether it was keto or eating for your blood type or being a vegan. I truly believe that eating everything in moderation and optimizing for our hormones is the ultimate way of eating for longevity and feeling fabulous in our bodies. But I spent my 20s trying all the different wellness trends and nutrition trends. I was that guinea pig. I tried it all. And yeah, I'm not falling for that anymore.
That is such a good answer. I hope we all stop falling for that and don't fall for that anymore. What would people be surprised to know about you?
I think people would be surprised to know that I'm like not on my phone. People will text me, and like I was with someone last night who was like, "You haven't responded to my text." And I was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." But like, look at my phone. I have 15 unread text messages. Like, it's not that I live in the present. I try to be very present with my kids, my coworkers, like on social, and I can leave my phone for 4 hours. I think that's also why I'm able to still have a really great relationship with social media because I'm able to like put it over there. It's annoying for my friends, but so I think it's that. I think the other thing that people will probably be surprised about is that like I live to order for a table.
Ooh,
I'm your girl. Like we're out to dinner, it's 10 people. No one needs to look at a menu. Like I will lace a table perfectly, appetizers, main courses, side dishes. We're eating all the best things. I'm aware of like how hungry everyone is, allergies and all. I'm your girl.
you are a master order. Wow.
I really, and it gives me so much joy. Like so much
This
joy.
is what I need next is I need you to go through all the restaurants you go to and give us your ordering so we
Oh
know
my
what to get.
God. Love that. Happy to.
I need that in my life. Okay, last question for you. Best advice you've ever received?
There's so much great advice out there. I think it kind of just goes back to understanding the things that are in your control and the things that are not, and not getting caught up and emotionally tangled with the things that are outside of your control.
I love that advice.
I remind myself of it daily.
It's hard. It's hard, but it's the thing that will change your life. So it's great
Totally.
advice. Hannah, where can everybody find you?
You guys can find me on Substack. My Substack is called Hannah's List. You can find me on Instagram at Hannah Bronfman and also on TikTok, where I've been having so much fun. Very different than my Instagram, very different than my Substack. I'm out here as a, I don't know, mid millennial trying to make it on TikTok, and it's actually fun. That might be a wildly different opinion than most millennials, but yeah, I'm into it.
No, it's so fun. I like TikTok because you can have a lot more fun with it. You can be just like goofy.
Totally. It's also really nice for someone like me who has been the creator of like the old guard of creating content. And I love to adapt and change and storytell. And so it's just been fun. I like personal growth. So I feel like I evolve and change as a storyteller and find different ways of connecting with a different audience. And yeah, it brings it kind of like brings back the vibes of what creating was like for me in the early days. And so, yeah, I'm having a good time with it.
Because would you say the big difference you feel is like it's less curated, or what exactly is the difference that you notice?
Totally. Less curated. People like those funny BTS moments, off the cuff thoughts, very uncurated, very not editorial. And people like to listen to a brain dump. I'm not so good at create at like just like an off the cuff comment. I'm more thoughtful in the content that I put out, but that doesn't mean that I'm not like silly, funny, or sharing random moments that I think people on Instagram would not want to see. I feel like Instagram is like your business highlights. TikTok is like real life behind the scenes, and my Substack is where I can create actual discourse around more thoughtful things that are happening in business and the world and my life. And yeah, that's kind of how I'm thinking about these different
All the different
verticals and where I'm
platforms.
showing up.
Yeah, it's so cool to get your perspective on that. Hannah, thank you so much. You are so cool. It was seriously like a dream of
Well,
mine to get to talk to you because I love you. I have so many other topics we didn't even have time to get into, but thank you so much.
I would love a part two. Here for you anytime. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm so glad this was such a great chat. So thank you again.
You're the best. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I know I sure did. Please do not forget to rate, review, and subscribe. It really makes a huge difference for our show so we can keep growing and bringing the content that you love. If you want more info, you can find us at the Evergirl Podcast on Instagram or theeverygirlpodcast.com. Talk to you next week.